Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Constitution Day, 2019. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning. How about a patriot? Let's get some patriots calling in and give our Pledge of Allegiance, please. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of a great big fall tire sale. And don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and let's have a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I appreciate it. On Constitution Day, my friend Doug, thank you very much. Well done. All right, sir. Hey, it's time for the weather real quick. We always kick off the show with the weather forecast, and, of course, the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. You can't miss them. No, right there on the Burley Paul Highway. I mean, they just stand right out. You're just going to be kind of magnetized. Just turn on in. Absolutely, for the best tools and equipment that you need to finish any kind of a project. And I want to tell you, too, they've got all your excavators, air compressors, and you got some time before the ground freezes to get in your lawn sprinklers or your water lines. They've got all the equipment to get that done. Contact Roger and the crew today at K&R Rental, and the number to call is 678-3122. Here's Gina with the weather.
Looking at some breezy conditions for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies, but we're going to have winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 to 18 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 64 tonight. Mostly clear skies. Winds are going to be dying down a little bit with low 43. Tomorrow, sunny skies. High of about 70. Now for tomorrow night, more rain showers are on the forecast. About a 50% chance with a low 42. Definitely rain showers for Thursday. About a 70% chance with a high of 58. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
All right, I tell you what, we appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. And brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, like I said, on the Burley Paul Highway. Now, they get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to better serve you. Call them, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Oh, don't forget Thursday sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. The sale that works for you. Merv, May, Cade, Rogge, Lance, Udy, and the number to call for cattle consignments and sale information for Thursday sale, 678-9411. I'll say it again, 678-9411. Don't forget Thursday sale day at 11 o'clock, Burley Livestock Sale Yard. The best working for you. We've got a very, very interesting program this morning on this Constitution Day. And by the way, teachers, if you're listening out there before you go into your classrooms, today is a teachable moment day. Let everyone in your classrooms know this is Constitution Day, and it's related to I Am an American Day, Citizenship Day. All of this. Please don't drop the ball. Our students need to go home and say to their moms and dads, this is Constitution Day of the United States of America. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget our good friends at Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Wow, they do a great job. You know, I take in some shirts and some Wrangler jeans and other things that, boy, they look a little rumply-crumply when I take them in there. And then when we go in to pick them up, I go, wow, I didn't remember owning this shirt because it looks so brand spanking new. They do a phenomenal job. And don't forget, too, if you're going hunting and you're back from hunting and your sleeping bag, maybe you've got ketchup and cheese and Cheetos and it's a mess. Don't just throw it in the closet. Get it clean now so it's ready for next year. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Yep, the best serving you. Want to remind you also about our dear friends over at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And they also get there real early in the morning at 7:30 to open the doors for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Yeah, I know. Emphasis has changed a little bit from the cooling now to the heating. And going into the fall and winter, well, they've got all your furnace filters. I know it's time to think about your furnace. I know. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Where they provide warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey's. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I hope you never go on strike because it would be devastating to your wonderful listeners. But there is three entities that I'd like to see them go on strike, and that is CNN, New York Times, and MSNBC. They could go not only on strike, but they could go somewhere else that's really hot. You know what I mean?
I do, but I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Bear with me. A lot of people have called me over the last couple of years regarding my criticism, my profound criticism of the Times News with the silly grade school mistakes they make and then also the coverage in a very liberal manner. And they say, well, why do you even subscribe to that paper if you hate it so much? And I said, no, you're missing the point. I subscribe to that paper because I want to keep on finding out what they're doing or not doing so that I have a track to run on to not only be a correctional tool, if you will, but also find out that if they do something right, I'm going to praise them. But it hasn't happened very often.
That's why we listen to you, Zeb.
Well,
like I've said before, when you tell it to us, it's straight talk.
Keith, and I appreciate that. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and the conversation shifted a little bit that way, and I said, never will I put on the air. He wanted to have me talk about a subject that hasn't been verified and not bona fide information yet. And I said, no, I can't handle that. Not going to do it until it's absolutely concrete. Yes, no, black, white, so I can formulate an opinion. I'm not going to put something on the air that is speculative finger-pointing without the facts.
Well, I'm glad you straighten me out every day because I think off the track sometimes.
No. Give yourself a lot of credit. You're thinking about a lot of great subjects, and I appreciate it. And your calls are always welcome. Thank you. I got another call waiting. Go ahead.
I always enjoy getting you stirred.
Well, you do a good job being the spoon. You're a good spoon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, caller number 2. I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Oh, yeah. I love doing this commercial because Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley, with all the great menu choices, breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, anytime, all the time. Super nice people serving you. I mean, they've got, I'm a breakfast nut. I can't help it. That's my favorite meal of the day. And they've got some delicious breakfasts. Check out all the sandwiches and the dinner menu. I mean, wow. It's really good. Always is. At Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. They are America's Diner and the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And we will be there next Thursday, the 26th at 11:30. Don't you miss it. Caller, I'm a-coming. I just got to get one more good word in, and then I'll give you more than fair time. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union. Hello, Dr. Bill. Hello, everybody. They're not just your itty-bitty kitty cat or puppy dog. No. They're mixed animal practice. They take care of all your animals. And I want to urge you, if you haven't taken care of the fall vaccinations yet, do it. Please. You want healthy animals. So do they. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. And call the number. Write this down, 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital, where they have warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. At the Burley Senior Center on South Overland. Today we're having lasagna and all of the trimmings and yummy dessert. And it's only $5, all you can eat. Nobody goes away hungry.
All right, Joe. You know, Joe, how come the cooks aren't telling you what kind of dessert you're going to have?
I don't know. They keep it a secret.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just hang the label yummy dessert on Joe Taylor, and it's only, what, $5?
That's correct.
Okay. We'll send him over to the Senior Center on Overland. Joe, God bless. Thank you so much.
Everybody's welcome.
All right, sir. Thank you. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. I got to tell you, folks, and maybe you'll disagree with me on this, that's fine. I cannot believe, think about this, please, and formulate your own opinion. I can't believe how pathetic and, in my opinion, stupid the Democratic Party is right now in the middle of political season for picking and trying to choose a Democratic nominee to run for president. Now, and let me explain why. In the last couple of days, we have seen a shifting of the American viewpoint and what they hear, what they see, what they read, and what they listen to from the supposed top 10 candidates that were standing up behind the podiums last Thursday and their suggested and supposed platforms. And now the Democratic Party seems to pull their pistol out of their holster and shoot themselves, not in one foot but both, because they start a complete reboot of impeachment of Judge Kavanaugh. Now, just bear with me for a minute. This is me, just me thinking this. But if they're going to shift the perspective of the media from whether it's Biden or whether it's Warren or whether it's bug-eyed Cory Booker or, heaven forbid, O'Rourke, and shift it over to the impeachment possibly of Judge Kavanaugh, they are completely minimizing their candidates for the presidency. Honestly, now the American public, every lead story Every lead story yesterday was about the attack on Judge Kavanaugh. The New York Times, the Democrats, why are they doing this? They want to impeach him, blah, blah, blah. And they've shifted all the interest and the media coverage away from their candidates. And I don't understand. You've got Democrats led by one of the squad, that Iona Presley, that I absolutely abhor. I think she's absolutely disgusting, along with Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But you have people like Iona Presley demanding. Those are the words used, demanding they go after and impeach Judge Kavanaugh. And I just wonder, and help me on this, please give me a call. I wonder about the rest of the Democratic Party, starting, with Pelosi and Schumer and many, many, many more. Do they really, honestly, and truly want to go this way, headed into kind of a third quarter, if you will, of preparation for the presidency and the nomination of a president, and shift all the interest and the press over to now the impeachment of Judge Brett Kavanaugh? Doesn't make any sense to me. And the movement of going towards Brett Kavanaugh has been absolutely insane. There is no victim because the victim doesn't recall being a victim. Now, think back. All of us that might be getting a little gray and long in the tooth, long in the earlobe, whatever the case might be, think back to your high school days. Go ahead, think. Or your college days. Now, I'm not bragging, but I think I'm one of many or most that can vividly recall various events, parties, different things you were involved in, maybe basketball or football games or whatever the case might be while you were in school, or little happenings in school, or maybe your homeroom in high school, or maybe something that happened in English class, or something that happened on the Friday night dance after the football game. Whatever, those memories are there. And this woman has no recollection and does not remember being a victim. And yet, here we go with another chainsaw attack on Judge Brett Kavanaugh and his family and his worth on the Supreme Court. What are your thoughts on this? The left absolutely is, they're like a dog with rabies. They're snapping at anything and everything, but without any backbone or fact. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget the Purple Shovel Market. I love the name of that place. Purple Shovel Market, an outdoor market connected to Nature Nursery at 120 East Highway 81 in Burley, across from the Burley Golf Course. This Saturday, the 21st, they're going to have a super antique and craft show and food vendors, all kinds of unique, good things to find and buy and take home. Oh, you do not want to miss this at the Purple Shovel Market. Outdoor market connected to the Nature Nursery, 120 East Highway 81. I bit my tongue so bad. In Burley, across from the Burley Golf Course. And it's from 10 to 4 this coming Saturday. Don't miss it at the Purple Shovel Market. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. And Mr. Kavanaugh's reputation, they're trying to destroy, and that's going to injure his wife and his family and all that. On top of that, the young lady, she's not that young anymore, her reputation and her family is going to be dragged through the mud, too. So there should be 2 major lawsuits against these people that are trying to ruin their reputation.
There's a lot of money floating around someplace, Tony. There's a big checkbook someplace under the table, under the carpet, back in the closet someplace that's promoting this, paying for this, and trying to get this thing to the forefront of the media attention. Somebody or some group or someone is really out there saying, hey, let's start this, we can do this, but they got to pay somebody. There's got to be people paid to shut up. There's got to be people paid to speak up. And I'm really concerned as to the status of what the Democrats and their party are willing to pull right now.
Well, I'm sure investigations can be made. There's a lot of people on the Republican side that are ticked off about what this ongoing destruction of Republicans is happening. And there should be major lawsuits, and somebody's got to pay.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. Unfortunately, very unfortunately when I say this, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that Brett Kavanaugh, with his judgeship, if you will, on the Supreme Court, would ever muster or garner anything to do with a recouping of his personality and his family's treasured reputation, etc., by a lawsuit. I don't think he ever would. He's got to sit there and take this because he's a member of the Supreme Court, and I find this so offensive, so absolutely low pond scum and gutter as to what the Democrats are doing.
Well, the Democrats are running scared right now, and they'll throw any kind of crap up against the wall hoping it's going to stick.
I agree. I totally agree. But this poor man thought, I guess, that everything was over, and he's a member of the Supreme Court, acting in a very judicious, professional manner, and here they come again. It's disgusting.
Well, they're not doing their job that they were elected to do. All they're doing is trying to destroy reputation. They're not doing anything to help the country out or the people that voted in.
I agree. Totally agree. Totally agree. Tony, always good to hear from you. You make my day, buddy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. Let your house welcome you home with the perfect temperature. How? Well, the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox features remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Hey! Right now, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. So get comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Yeah, this could be stopped real easy if those who make a false accusation get the punishment of the person that they're accusing of what they're accusing they've done.
It's not going to happen.
It's not, because we have a two-tiered justice system. We have a government that isn't for the people. They're for themselves. They're greedy. They're back there, a good old boys club, well, girls club too, and they're enriching themselves. They don't care about the people who elected them. Most of them back there don't.
One of the points, listen to this though, one of the points of our Constitution on Constitution Day is so poignant for what's happening right now, and it is a free people should be governed by law, not the whims of men. Think about that.
Well, they forgot to read that part when they took their oath of office.
What I'm saying is, right now we're being governed by, quite frankly, by the Democratic Party, by the whims of what they want to do to hurt somebody, because their initial reaction to the 2016 election was, oh, well, they can't do that to us. We'll fight back, and we'll be just so antagonistic, they'll never get anything done. So isn't that exactly against the statement, a free people should be governed by law, not by the whims of men?
Exactly. That's exactly it. I mean, they're back there. They got beat, and they got beat handily, because they had a candidate that has no idea how to be honest, straightforward, how to govern. The only thing that candidate knew how to do was start a foundation and bleed millions of dollars out of foreign countries when they thought she might be president and get something kicked back their way.
Yeah.
She had no. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? She should never have been in a public office, or him, because they're talking allegations against Kavanaugh. Well, what was it? They should believe, or how? Well, I can't remember what that statement was. When people accuse. But no.
What you're talking about, the allegations? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And they said, when they were saying that when a woman makes a statement, she should be believed. Well, what about Broadwick and all those who made the statements against Clinton? They're not going there.
That's right.
Or what is he's the district or the attorney for Vermont? Is it Vermont or anyway back there where the one had the black face and the other one was accused of rape? You've never heard anything coming up on that.
Let me just say this, Doug, and it's really true about Hillary Clinton. About 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a man back east in Washington, D.C. that is a fairly well-known political advisor and critic. And the conversation, I'm trying to get him on my program, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, if his schedule allows. And the subject of Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and the Clinton Foundation, and all the under-the-table deals that happen and are still happening with the Clintons, I mentioned that to him, and he said, let me just say this. When it comes to Hillary Clinton and investigatory means and methods into what she did or what they did as a husband and wife couple, he said, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I like the way that states it, because it needs to happen. What they're doing with Kavanaugh is they are trying to tear him down, and then they're putting a kind of warning out to any that President Trump nominates to the Supreme Court.
Right.
That you are going to go through heck to even get close, and then once you're in, you're still going to.
Yeah, they've created a fear factor to more or less taint anybody's thinking about trying to be or go for the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly what they're doing. And any other office that he nominates somebody for.
That's right. Totally agree with you. Do you have to take that call?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I do have one thing I want to put out, a saying of the day.
All right, here we go.
Givers have to set limits because takers never do.
There you go. I like that. I'm going to write that down and use that later on and steal it from you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I borrowed it off the internet. I love that saying.
All right, buddy. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
Everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them, donate to them. We're coming up in the holiday season. Add them on under an envelope in your Christmas tree and send it to them.
There you go. Well done, Doug. Always. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, I'll be right with you in just a moment. I want to remind everybody, these are nice people that really do a job that we don't want to do. We don't want to take the time for it. We don't want to actually do it. And I'm talking about septic tank pumping or sewer and sink drain lines cleaning and liquid waste removal. Who do you call? I've got the answer right here. Dino's Septic Service. That's right, Dino's Septic Service. Boy, they've recently expanded their business so they can serve more and more people. Please call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638. They've got a great... I snicker every time I think about it because they came and did some work for us. They've got a big truck that says Smells Cargo on the way to serve you. Dino's Septic Service. Call them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dan. You know, this squad is so far off center that no one else in the Democratic Party wants to even join them or associate with them. That ought to tell them something how bad these people are.
Well, it may tell somebody how bad they are or how absolutely reprehensible they are or what they are suggesting, but it does seem a little weird to me, old Keith, old buddy, old friend, that those four women, seem to have the Democratic Party right by the nose.
Well, yeah. You know, if you were to go to court with somebody and you swore to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, and the people on the other side would lie, they would probably win.
Yeah.
That's just exactly what the situation is there.
I will, and I've said this before, and I meant it. I'm going to do all I can from here in Idaho to try to get each and every one of those women not elected ever again to serve our country, whether it's Presley, whether it's Tlaib, whether it's Omar, whether it's especially Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I find these women disgusting, and what they're doing to this country, disgusting and despicable. They should not be in Congress.
Yeah, and I heard on the news that Nadler has now got somebody running against him, and that's great news.
It's great news, but I'll tell you what, the political machine of the Democrats and the party and the way that they literally hurt people, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. All right, Keith, appreciate it. I want to remind you, and calls are welcome, 43622. 441-866-927-4587. Want to remind you about Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts, and 3 locations, easy to get into, easy people to talk to, and easy to either lease or buy the equipment absolutely. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Napa location serving you with the equipment that you need for lifting and digging and pushing and carrying and grading and leveling. Oh my goodness, they've got it all. The Doosan wheel loaders and excavators and all the bobcats in the various sizes, and the expertise to help you find what you're needing and looking for. Berry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. Get a hold of them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
One more point.
Uh-oh.
All these allegations coming out against Kavanaugh, I personally would like to know who dipped into the slush fund to pay off sexual harassment cases for our senators and congressmen.
Yeah.
I would like those names published and the amount.
Well, I don't think Donald Trump was off base at all when he said that he would like to see heads rolling, basically, at the New York Times and others that not only rewrote, restructured, and added information that wasn't even a part of any kind of a story. They lied. The New York Times lied, and many other people involved in it lied. And, you know, they're sitting there, and right now today, and they're watching a rebirth or a rebooting, like I said earlier, of the Democratic Party going after Brett Kavanaugh, destroying his family, hurting his wife and him to the point where all this garbage, people are going to be pointing fingers at him when they go to a restaurant or a baseball game or a basketball game. The daughters go to school and somebody's going to make some stupid remark. I mean, they're destroying that family.
Exactly. They should be held liable.
Absolutely.
Where they had the story, they left out what's the lawyer say, culpatory evidence that would free him, which would mean he didn't do it.
Right.
And they left that out. That is liable.
The situation of politics today, 2019, on this Constitution Day, is absolutely, we're at a kind of our boot heels of our Tony Lama boots are on the edge of a cliff. Maybe you don't agree with this, but if we don't start pushing back, we're going to go over the cliff.
Exactly. That's exactly it. We're at a tipping point, and if we don't fight back, if we don't do like our forefathers did to form this nation and bring up a revolt against the ones trying to take it down, we're going down.
Amen. And you're so right. Doug, again, I'm glad you called back with that point. Thank you very much. Thank you. Caller number 2, you are on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I took a little trip and glad to be back here where the humidity's not so high. I was born in the Midwest, but I had an aunt and uncle help them celebrate their 70th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
And they live in Missouri. He was a Marine, fought in the Korean War, and fortunately made it back in one piece. And they're just wonderful. They are the salt of the earth. They're still out on a farm and have a couple boys that live fairly close to them. They're still raising cattle, and they're still putting up hay. It's amazing. These people just are amazing. But the comment is, I mean, the solutions to our nation's problems, if our politicians would just get the U.S. Constitution and read it and abide by it, because they all take an oath to uphold it, but they just throw it in the corner and just do whatever they want to. And it's just, Article 4, Section 4 says they're to protect us against invasion. Well, we're being invaded so much.
That's right.
By all of this outside stuff, and your comments about these people that want to destroy our country, that are elected, Omar and AOC and so forth. My gosh, how far have we gone down the moral abyss that is destroying this country? And if we don't go back to the Founding Fathers' formula of success found in the Constitution, and everybody says, well, we don't know what they meant by the First Amendment. We know exactly what I've got 2 books that have all of the Madison's notes that he took during the convention. So all of this nonsense, there was no separation of church and state. They wanted religion, the Christian, Judeo-Christian religion taught in our schools. They wanted morality, and they wanted knowledge, and we're not getting any of that.
That's right. Now, let me jump in here and say this, that the complexion, and I got to hurry along because I got another caller before I do the weather, Adrian, but the complexion of politicians today, and I'm not talking about their facial complexion, if they have pimples or not. I'm talking about their personality makeups. Remember the days when we were growing up, whether it was on the Democratic side, Hubert Humphrey from Minnesota that ran for the presidency on numerous occasions, or on the other side of the coin, we had Bill Proxmire from Wisconsin and Barry Goldwater. They were people that were absolutely committed to the success of America, not one party, but the success of America, and we've lost that now. The Democrats haven't got a clue what that means.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, here's the sad part about it. Our kids in our public schools here in Idaho have no comprehension of the greatness of this country. They're not being taught about the Constitution, about what made America great, about the opportunities that afford them. I mean, if I'd been born in any other country, I never would have had the opportunity to work, be able to make enough money to go to college, get an education, and be able to move production agriculture ahead. And I just want a side note here. We've increased potato production since I've been in Idaho from 240 hundredweight per acre to about 500 now.
Yeah.
And, we've doubled because of the technology, all of the things put together. And I want to give credit to my friend that passed away several years ago, Dr. Dale Stukenholt's lab. This guy was an innovator. He was just a person. He's the one that...
I got to run, Adrian. I can't. I'd love to talk about him because he's a Superman, but I've got to get this other call on the air, and I do appreciate your call. Please, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great day. We need to get back to the Founding Fathers and the Constitution being this Constitution Day. Let's take it out and read it and make our politicians stand by it.
I agree. Totally. Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
You were talking about what they're doing to Kavanaugh. I feel like this intimidation, this bullying is how the Democrats are winning, because everyone's afraid to stand up because they're seeing what they're doing to the good people. And so good people are afraid to stand up because they don't want to have to put their families and themselves through this garbage, this intimidation, this bullying, and that's exactly what it is bullying that these people are doing.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, and please, caller, don't be offended when I say this, because I'm not talking specifically about you. But all of us, myself, you, and everybody listening in the audience right now, I dare them to go to the mirror in their bathroom, look at their face in the mirror, and say that they don't have some skeletons in their closet. And when we start taking people that may have done something or may not have done something back when they were teenagers, and we start crucifying them and absolutely saying this happened, that happened, when in essence it probably did not, we are absolutely losing so many good people that could serve this great country.
Exactly. And it's all through intimidation. And it's all through bullying. I know it for a fact. I've been through it too. And how do you stand up to it? And unless other people stand up with you, we all lose.
That's exactly the point. And this is the tone of politics today, especially on the left. If they don't win, they're going to get you.
Yeah, one way or the other. And they'll go after your families. They don't care. They are that vindictive.
I agree. Hey, it's good to hear from you.
Twisted.
Absolutely. I'll tell everybody, you're going to be on the air for me on Thursday, Sharon. God bless you.
Yes, I am.
That was a reminder to you and me.
Everybody call. We can discuss things.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you so much. Now, listen, caller number 2, I've got a favor to ask of you, and I'm sorry. Have patience for 60 seconds. I've got to get a weather forecast on here, please. I want to talk quickly about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are so good at what they do, helping your hearing health. Absolutely. Don't let that diminish. Don't let it go away. Do something about it and talk to the professionals that can help you. All you need to do is call 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. They are waiting to help you. Right now, here's the weather with Gina.
Looking at some breezy conditions for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies, but we're going to have winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 to 18 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 64 tonight. Mostly clear skies. Winds are going to be dying down a little bit with low 43. Tomorrow, sunny skies. High of about 70. Now for tomorrow night, more rain showers are on the forecast. About a 50% chance with a low 42. Definitely rain showers for Thursday. About a 70% chance with a high of 58. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Brought to everybody by the best at what they do, and that, of course, is serving your hearing health. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are a healthcare clinic that absolutely can help your hearing. Don't put it off. Call for a hearing screening today, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, you have been so patient. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Zeb, I hope I don't ramble on you. You know, I'm so upset. The Democrats are using these hearsay laws. I hear this guy said that, and this person over here said this, to go after people and prosecute them, you know, to try and destroy our legal system in this country. It just makes me want to... I get so upset with it.
Well,
just not right.
Jerry...
And then, you know, it's to cover up this horrible, horrible way they want to murder babies in the womb.
Yeah.
By tearing them to pieces. I heard one of the Democratic people get on the radio the other day or on the TV make the comment that 20 people were shot to death by horrible, inhumane weapons. You know, a rifle or a pistol gives you a humane way of dying. It kills you instantly, or, you know, pretty well puts you out of your misery, usually. When you tear somebody apart, one finger, one limb, one arm, one leg, their head here, something there, That's about the most horrible death I can even imagine in any way.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody supporting this type of baloney at all.
What's going on in our hospitals, especially that one hospital that we talked about in Illinois, we had it on the program a week ago, where they have what they call a comfort room to put the babies on a gurney after they are born full term. And the mother says, no, I don't want the child. And they take the baby in this so-called comfort room to die. That's not the America that I was born and raised in.
The doctors involved, the nurses involved, the hospitals involved, the mothers involved, the fathers involved, unless he don't know about it as far as I can tell. And it's a horrible, horrible, horrible thing they're doing to young people to protect a law that's just ridiculous.
Jerry, I appreciate your call, Jerry. Thank you so much. God bless you, my dear friend. Good to hear from you. Thank you.
You bet. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Wheels, I forgot. Is there another call waiting?
No, you're all right.
All right, I'm okay. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, quickly again, let your house welcome you home with the perfect temperature setting. The iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox features remote control access, and you can do it from anywhere. Absolutely. Right now, get a hold of Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. Make yourself comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. I want to shift gears just for a second on this program this morning, and I want to move over to the sports world just for a couple of minutes. And I'm just going to say this, and because it is a big, big business. I'm talking about pro football and the NFL. Now, I know that it is a big business. I know that a lot of people are committed like I am to watching on Thursday night, Sunday, Monday night, etc., and then the college games. But the pro game right now is absolutely not worth watching. I'll say it again. The professional game in the NFL is not worth watching right now. Way too many penalties. Way too many new rules that have, if you will pardon the expression, wussified the entire game. I watched that game last night for as long as I could stomach it. With the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, I watched other games this past weekend, and there were instances where 3 and 4 plays in a row were penalized, and they had the yellow flag on the ground. And it's not just me. I know many, many people that are connected to the NFL. And I also can tell you that the announcers, many of the announcers, anonymously, but they're starting to speak out, and some of these things are being heard. The announcers are saying it's a total lack of play and dominance of the officials and their flags. And the NFL better clean up their little plate right now soon, or they're going to be losing their dominance as being number one for viewership and sports dominance in the market. It's pathetic football. Games have become boring and slow. And as I said, some of the new rules are so vague, so gray, so absolutely ridiculous that NFL football, from what I've seen in the first 2 weeks of this season, is not worth watching. Want to remind you about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best serving you, and they've got 7 top-notch locations, too. Absolutely with top-notch people, and they're having a huge fall tire sale right now. You can save money and rest assured that you're going to be driving on the safest of tires. They've got all the tires for the cars, pickups, SUVs, camp trailers, boat trailers, horse trailers, you name it, the list goes on. And all the tread designs, everything. All you need to do is just stop in, let them help you. Absolutely. They've been doing the right thing since 1952. So stop in and see them today. The best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 1 minute. Go.
Zeb, you're talking about the football games. What about the commercials? They're no better than the game. I think they stink. It's terrible. Have a good day.
All right. Well, Bob, I can't argue with you. I tend to agree with you. Some of the sick, perverted, sexual innuendo commercials, I'm totally in favor of what you said. I agree with you. But the actual product of the game itself is pathetically low. This is the worst year, and I'll go on record as saying this, and I dare somebody to try to prove me wrong. This is the worst year of the worst and poorest of play in the NFL that I've ever seen, much of which it can be and will be attributed to the stupid rules that they are trying to enforce. I'll be back in 7. Don't go away. Oh, here we are. Kind of a cool morning out there this morning. I got 50 degrees right here at the ranch studios. And good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations involved right now in a big fall tire sale. You stop in and see them today. Along with some of our advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, Wheels, old buddy, old pal, can we have this good word for Western Waste?
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, and I urge you, if you need a dumpster, they've got dumpsters in various sizes, and you say, why do I need a dumpster? Well, maybe you're cleaning out your garage, your basement, or in my case, this office. They got them in various sizes. I'll take an extra large, please. And they'll come by, drop it off, and you fill it up, and they'll come and get it. Absolutely service-oriented for you, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Once again, I want to remind you there's big doings this coming Saturday at the Purple Shovel Market. It's an outdoor market right there connected to Nature Nursery at 120 East Highway 81 in Burley, right across from the Burley Golf Course. You can't miss it. And it's going to be from 10 to 4 this coming Saturday. All kinds of really unique antiques and crafts. Lots of food vendors. Oh, yeah. And unique finds for you at the Purple Shovel Market. And that's this Saturday, September 21st from 10 to 4. You be there. Going to be a lot of fun. Also, I want to remind everybody about Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric and the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat that you can, with remote control, access anywhere you are, anytime, to keep your home's temperature the way you want it. Find out more. Get a hold of Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox as they're offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Let's go to the phone line right now. And we've had a change in racehorses on the track for this morning for our energy segment with the American Energy Alliance. I say good morning. I think he's been here before, and we say howdy to Horace Cooper. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be on the program again.
Horace, what in the world are you doing? And tell us a little bit about Horace Cooper. How'd you get into this business anyway?
Well, I'm a senior fellow with the National Center for Public Policy Research. I am formerly a law professor at George Mason University, and I used to teach constitutional law and legislative process, rather. I worked on Capitol Hill and became a senior counsel to the House Majority Leader, Dick Armey, and I am always interested in issues involving energy, and in particular their national security implications. And I've been writing quite a bit about some of the climate change litigation that has been happening in America in the last few years.
Wow. Hey, Horace, today is what day?
Constitution Day.
If you'd have failed that question, I would have come back there and you'd have had to pay me and buy me a steak dinner, because that you should have known.
Your audience doesn't know this, but last week I had a steak dinner with James Madison. Well, not actually James Madison, but a person who spends his entire life representing James Madison, promoting his life, his history, and that tells you a little bit about who I am, because that's the kind of thing that I find a joy to be able to do.
You know what? I'm going to look forward to this next 15 minutes. Horace, let me start things off this morning. I was going to talk to you, and I am going to talk to you about Iran, Saudi Arabia, everything else. But let me just say this, and tell me if you think I'm completely all wet or wrong. Little by little, inch by inch, page by page on the newscasts every night with a very liberalized left media, the American public is being subjected to a takeover of climate change ideas and being subjected to the idea that all of us that disagree with climate change, all of us that disagree with the sinister aspects of what they're trying to do, we are evil, and they're turning us into kind of the Darth Vader types when we're fighting this idiocy against climate change. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's no doubt about it that there is an organized effort to result in a dramatic economic change that transfers the life that many Americans accept and welcome and actually struggle to maintain, to change that to one where we actively undermine our lifestyle, undermine our economy, undermine our ability to live the kind of life that many Americans hope is the dream that they're going to leave as a legacy for their children. There's a reason people come to this country, many of them illegally. It's precisely because of the achievements and success and the wealth creation possibilities that exist in the United States. There's an organized effort to get all of us to ignore the benefits and to actively turn back the clock. Not just a 20-year turn back, not just a 50-year turn back, but as much as a 100-year turn back in terms of what our lives are like, what our average home size would be like, what our transportation choices might look like. If the left had their way and they were able to convince us to do it, we'd look more like 1819 United States of America than we would 2019 United States of America.
There's a lot to be said for going out and investing in the old Wells Fargo and Concord stagecoaches, because we might need that again.
Well, we're seeing this idea, even as we watch the 2020 candidates participate, we hear them say strange things like, we're going to come and take your cars. There's been a lot of pushback about Beto O'Rourke's claims that they're going to grab firearms from people who lawfully own them, but very little attention has been given to some of the other candidates who are essentially saying our automobiles are no longer going to be allowed as part of the Green New Deal and as part of an effort to roll back the clock. The American automobile like air conditioning, like indoor plumbing, have unbelievably transformed the lives of Americans. And if you take that away, it isn't something that's moderate, it's not something that's minor, it's not something that can be overcome. It would dramatically change what it means to live in America today.
You know, Horace, let me throw this at you, and I'm sure with your intellect and knowledge on this situation, you've already thought of this, but isn't it totally ridiculous, and underline that word ridiculous, for our Congress, our House of Representatives, and our Senate to even think about passing a huge multi-billion, with a B, billion-dollar infrastructure bill to improve our roadways, our bridges, etc., when these same idiots want to stop individual ownership of cars?
Well, it's a case, as I like to say, Cooper's axiom, the far left hand doesn't know what the left hand is up to. Here we have this government intervention in the name of infrastructure, and on the other hand, we have this idea of negating any reason for engaging in it. This conversation highlights the inconsistency and the incoherence of what they're presenting. I'll say again, the typical American's lifestyle would be dramatically undermined if we just did one little thing called eliminating the combustible engine in the American automobile.
Absolutely. Okay, so stop right there. Let's draw a great big breath and tell me and my audience, how does common sense prevail over these insane loons that are trying to transition our entire economy and lifestyle?
Well, that's part of the problem is, as you outlined when we first started this conversation, the left tries to create this idea of wicked forces, the Darth Vader, if you will, the evil activity on the part of just being an ordinary person. It's akin to, and that's what I want your audience to understand, if someone came to you and said, when you drink water when you're thirsty, you're evil. If you are having 2 or 3 meals a day, that is wrong. That's what we need to understand. When they tell us, when they absolutely say to us that we need to figure out how not to have air conditioning in our homes, when we, or as the government was recently saying, we need to keep it no lower than 78 at night and 82 during the daytime. What they're telling us is we just being normal, just being comfortable is in fact the problem. And yet the evidence is belied by the reality that America's efforts to limit our utilization of energy sources has been very, very impactful. And in fact, even though we're the biggest economy on the planet, we are not the biggest polluter. We're not the second biggest polluter. We're not the 5th biggest polluter. In fact, our efforts at energy minimization alone are greater, what we're doing, than about 1/3 of all countries on the planet. The idea that we are the problem, there is no evidence to justify it, and in fact, what we ought to be saying is, let American innovation occur. Let American creativity occur. We're on the cutting edge of that kind of capacity when we unleash the economy, and we're on the cutting edge of former Soviet planning when we say these crazy ideas of the left that the government is going to restrict us and limit us should be allowed to reign free.
You know, Cooper, Horace, pardon me, we've got a caller calling in right now with a question, and then we'll continue on. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please.
Yes. The question I have is, the people wanting to push this agenda, definitely, they don't expect to follow it themselves, and if they do, why it might turn out to benefit us in the long run anyway, because a lot of them will die off because they're too darn dumb to figure out how to live off nothing. I'll let you go.
Respond to the caller, please, Horace.
Well, it is remarkable how many of the people that tell us that we shouldn't fly on an airplane, that we shouldn't have indoor plumbing and air conditioning and have a house that's about 18 to 2,200 square feet, are living in supersized mansions. They drive not just one SUV, they take 2 or 3 SUVs at a time, and they fly not commercial, they fly in private jets. It is remarkable, the hypocrisy.
Well,
the thing I would say to, as the caller points out, if in fact this makes so much sense, let's see you do it. Let's watch and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think they know what the caller knows. Eventually, the pain from this experience is either going to lead you to stop doing it, or it's going to lead to self-harm.
Okay, I want to talk quickly about one area that I absolutely have a passion for, and that is agriculture. Not one of these clowns looking for a circus that's running on the Democratic ticket to be president has addressed the problems incurred by agriculture and food production if they adopt these green energy ways. Agriculture would absolutely suffer, go down the drain, and we would be a nation of a starving people.
Okay. You're 100% correct. Let's also mention that several of them advocate eliminating the cow. Again, this isn't a 21st century idea. It's not a 20th century idea. This is actually a pre-17th century idea that the American people wouldn't have access to something like that particular agricultural activity. But even more broadly, as you point out, when you look at the global planet, solutions that involve getting people the kind of food that they need to sustain themselves occur when you don't have these green, quote, restrictions that are put in place. They don't just harm America, they will harm the globe. We would be looking at worldwide poverty, not like what we've seen in 50 to 75 years. In fact, the question of global poverty has largely been eliminated precisely because we're able to adopt the kind of modern agriculture policies that if the left had their way, we would have to eliminate. This is dangerous, and it needs to be called out.
Horace, I've only got about 7 minutes left or less on this segment. We've got another caller. We'll make it quick and short. Go ahead, caller. Quickly, you're on the air.
Well, when I hear CBS News or Westwood One News at the top of every hour talking about various things, but talking about how farmers and farming in America is unsustainable, these farmers are constantly conserving, figuring out a way to make water go farther, and they're doing things that nobody else on the face of the planet is doing. There are no farms elsewhere on Earth more efficient and more sustainable than the ones here in America. And these loons that think they're going to change this, if you go out here, we're in southern Idaho, we're in the ag community. These farmers are the most efficient, brightest, industrious farmers you've ever seen. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Horace.
Yeah, so the caller notes that it's actually American agricultural production that feeds the planet, and the caller is correct. And he also, by implication, is noting that the very people that tell us they love you and me and everyone on the planet, and they're looking out for us, are coming up with solutions that are going to be deadly. Let me repeat that. Deadly. Scores and scores and the upwards of millions of people will die if we transform our cutting-edge agricultural capacity and turn back the clock to where we were even 100 years ago, and they're wanting to go even further back than that. This would be deadly, and it is the weirdest kind of love I've ever seen, where you have to kill millions in order to save us all. Destroying the village to save the village was incoherent in the 70s. It's incoherent when the Greenies say it today.
You know, Horace, yesterday on my program, quickly a side note, I had a loon, absolute loon, come on my program and tell me that American agriculture was expendable and that we as a country would be better off to import all of our food. I jumped on that like a cat to a plate of milk and told him he was a buffoon, and any country that can't feed itself is going to be subservient to the world and other countries and become a slave to those countries. I want to see if you agree with me or not.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, here's the truth. Here's the absolute truth. It doesn't matter whether it's energy. It doesn't matter whether it's food. History has shown in America when we need them most, whatever the things are, the rest of the world becomes less willing to provide it. When things are great and we have excess, there's plenty that comes to us. You know why OPEC isn't running our lives today? Because we are energy self-sufficient. This is the reason why agriculture matters in America, because we are food sufficient. If the left had their way, we would find ourselves, our national security, our defense budget, our tax budget, all being placed under the control of other countries and hoping that they want to be generous, that they want to be kind. History has shown there's no evidence that that's true.
Horace, I've only got a minute and a half left. Keep the response short on your end on this question, but really quick. How devastating, how serious, or how dangerous as to what happened in Saudi Arabia is this going to be for consumers at the pump?
Well, here's the good news. America is more energy independent than we have ever been in modern history. And that means that we can look at this with a much more careful and considered approach. I'm not worried about how this impacts the American people. I'm worried about maintaining the ability to have that kind of distance and judgment.
Horace Cooper, will you please come back in the near future? I've enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
God bless. Thank you very, very much. With the American Energy Alliance, Horace Cooper, a very, very, he's a thinker. He knows what's going on, and he amplifies that. Thank you very, very much. Yesterday, yes, I was over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, and it's working, it's helping, it's really doing its job for me because they're really helping my legs. I can't say enough about the wonderful, wonderful exercises and the care that you receive at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and of course, all the physical therapists, all the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, all of this and more. I mean, it's a great big happy family over there serving you. Stop in. Give them a call, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Make an appointment at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Also, a great big thank you to our wonderful friends of this program, Hanson Mortuary, at 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you. When there's the passing of a loved one, they absolutely provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Please remember this number and let them help you. 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Coming up in just a minute or so, we're going to have John Connor on the program. John O'Connor, I want to make sure I get the name right. And an author that I'm really looking forward to having on the program with a book called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed, Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. Now, there is a title. We're going to talk to that gentleman in just a minute. Want to remind you, too, about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Hello, Jeff. I got to get a hold of Jeff here later on this afternoon. And Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, serving you with everything you need for the comfortization and beautification of your home. Now, here it is, 50 degrees outside, and that's just kind of a preview of the weather's going to start to get a little bit chilly, and you're going to be spending more time indoors. So please stop into Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're having window coverings on sale right now, blind shutters, roller shades, and much more, 30% off. And they've got special price on floor coverings and a closeout on some mattresses and all the new furniture. Stop in and see them today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Really, really nice people. Like I said, momentarily, we're going to have John O'Connor on our program, and I want to urge you also, there's a lot of great fall weather ahead where you can get up and check out all the mountain scenery and check out all the changing of the color of the leaves. Just enjoy that crisp autumn air on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side from Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. I urge you, I really do. We went over there and bought our four-wheelers. It's the best thing we ever did. And you stop over and see those good folks today. And all the accessories are there, and they've got a service department to keep you running. Don't forget, Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And it's really true. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm scratching my head trying to remember if I've had this gentleman on my program in the past. We'll ask him. Good morning, John O'Connor. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Great to be with you. I don't think I've been on your show before, but hopefully I can be on it again.
Well, it's high time that you made the decision to nod your head. It's good to have you here. You have got a book that has the longest title in the world, I think, and I'm going to let you plug it. What's the name of your new book, and give us the subtitle?
Well, I don't think it's that long, Zeb, but it's a pretty descriptive one. It's called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism.
Amen.
And the reason I think it's important, look what's happening today in our media. It started with Watergate, is really what I'm saying. And I go through Watergate, and I'd always thought that Watergate was the ideal combination of sourcing and reporting, that everything that was said was factual, and that even though President Nixon left office as a result, the happy part of it was that we all seemed to agree that it was based on factual reporting. And as it turns out, that wasn't true as I go through in this book.
Absolutely.
I'm somewhat shocked about it, but felt that when I discovered it that I had to do something about it. So I wrote this book.
You know, John, let me just throw this at you. I'm an old man. I don't know how old you are. It's rude of me to ask, but I'm an old man that can remember the newscasts in the evening of Huntley Brinkley and Walter Cronkite and others, that they didn't inject the personality and their own personal opinions. They reported on the news, and you felt certain that what they gave you were the facts, and you could make and formulate your own opinion as to how you felt about those facts. But to me, those days are gone. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right, and that's exactly my point. Those days ended with Watergate. Watergate incentivized really targeting and weaponizing reporting. It went under the rubric of investigative reporting. That's great. There are certain types of investigation we really need. If you're investigating the assault on Olympic gymnasts, that's one thing. But if what you're doing is reporting on matters that really have two sides to them. I mean, there's no two sides to the assault on a gymnast, but what happens is now is, unlike Huntley and Brinkley and Cronkite and all those folks, the new template is to weaponize to get a skin on the wall. As soon as Watergate happened, thousands of young people switched their majors to journalism or went to work for the media, hoping to take down the next bad guy who would probably be a conservative. But the most important thing is they were there to be political players, whether it's right or left. They became journalists to be political players, and their reporting was to have political effect. Think about what Woodward and Bernstein got for knocking off a president. Fame, a best-selling book, a great movie, a career-long accolades, Pulitzer Prizes for the paper. How could you beat that?
Yeah.
And you only get that when you score, when you destroy somebody, or when you have a political impact. And then, of course, you're praised. But if you're going to tell both sides of a story, let people make up their own mind, then you're just a reporter. Who wants to do that? That's boring. So that's what we have now. Now we have journalism which is not there to just tell you the facts. And I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, things have just changed radically.
You know, I'm sitting here, and from the Nixon era to now with Trump, 30-plus years, we thought something was dead, gone, and buried, but now it's rearing its ugly head again. I have never, ever in my lifetime, whether you're a partisan politician or a believer in partisan politics or not, I've never seen anything so evil and so short-sighted as to the complete hatred by the media against President Donald Trump. Never. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's reached a fever pitch. And in my view, President Trump got elected in part because there are a lot of people out there that were sick of the media, and they liked the guys that would push back against them. And of course, once he got elected, of course, the efforts to denormalize him, they would say, have redoubled. I mean, it's ridiculous. Every day, it's something more, and I think there's a lot of self-congratulation among the media. Who can hit Trump the most?
I agree.
And I don't think, though, that this is isolated with Trump or limited to Trump. I think this is modern journalism. It just happens to hit a fever pitch with a lightning rod like President Trump.
Let me ask you this. Right now, this morning, and even as we speak, there are insidious movements going on within the Democratic Party, and I don't know why they're doing this. It makes no sense to me at all, to really push for an impeachment of Judge Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. And again, raking his personality, himself, his family values, everything through the coals. And the New York Times has made so many mistakes, so many glaring mistakes, as have other news outlets. Is there no pride left in doing a good, honest, reputable job?
Well, I don't think their audience, what happens is they're trapped. They create an audience that really is salivating to get Kavanaugh in this case. It'll be something else another day. They're salivating to get Kavanaugh. So once they build that market, all they have to do is throw out more red meat, even if it's phony red meat. They realize to a certain degree it sells, and that's the real problem. They realize that this stuff to some degree sells, and it's really a shame. And I don't think there is pride, but that's what's happening, and we have to all talk about stopping it. When are we going to get back to reporters who say who, what, when, where, and let the audience or the readership make up its own mind?
Absolutely. Now, in your book, Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism, when the reader gets the book, what basically do you want them to take away from the book and remember when they close the cover on the last chapter?
Well, I want them to see how everyone got fooled. Very sophisticated people got fooled by this. And that's what I think the lesson is that the media can do a good job of deceiving you. And once you understand that, then I think people will hopefully look at journalism even more critically than they are today. And hopefully more people will be open to examining our journalism, and also, I would say, motivated to insist that the standards be better.
Absolutely.
There's a wide movement to push back against media such that there is some sort of consequence to what they're doing. Maybe this stuff will stop.
John, we have a
case in point. This is Zep, this is the journalism that supposedly, I believe, myself, as a pretty close observer of this stuff, that the Washington Post had done a fine job on Watergate. They didn't, and I go into how they did it and how they really deceived the public such that we got rid of a president.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
A president based upon really deceitful journalism is what I would call it.
John, we have another caller with a question and a comment. Go ahead, caller, please. You're on the air, please.
A couple questions. Journalism or where we source our information is so splintered, and it's so, you can't rely on it. It's people are so uninformed they believe virtually anything they read just because they see it on their phone or wherever they did see it. So how do you get purity out of journalism in that situation? And how long has this stuff been going on? I mean, when was the last time we had purity in journalism in this country? Did FDR know that Pearl Harbor was coming and he let it happen on purpose? I mean, how far back is this? I mean, when was the last time we had some purity? I'll hang up. Bye.
That's a good question. John, respond to the caller, please.
Well, what I would say is, there always have been some mistakes in the media. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes coverage has been too sensational, going back way back when. But basically, I think this whole thing started with Watergate. Especially as to serious matters, and I'm not talking about celebrity stuff or little scandals like there was a Fatty Arbuckle scandal and all that stuff. I'm talking about news and things that affect our democracy. And I do think it started with Watergate. So that's really the answer. Then the second part of the question is, what do you do about the fact that everyone has splintered sources of information? Well, that's one of the problems. We have splintered sources of information, and therefore journalists can get away with false reporting even more today than back in 1970s. So I don't know what we can do about that. But we should be pushing back hard on the major media to be more objective and try to tell both sides.
That being said, John, I'm a news junkie. I mean, the minute I get up in the morning at 4 a.m., I have a radio and television going on. I call my sources back in Washington, D.C. and New York City for stories and verification of stories. I'm a news junkie. But with all the news that's available, the American public basically is still tuning in when they do to ABC, CBS, and NBC for their news, and they miss a lot that's on the cable networks as far as what might be more in-depth reporting on various stories. So, all that being said, I'm afraid going into the 2020 election that the American public is not going to be informed enough to be a good, smart voter. Am I wrong?
No, unfortunately, you're not wrong. And I think the Post really started this sort of saturation coverage. When you read the Washington Post during Watergate, you felt you were getting the full story and would have no need to go anywhere else. They told you that you thought everything. And that's what's happening today. Like you say, you look at the major media, you think you know the story. And people just do not have the time to go do their own research like you or I might do. So that's the big problem, and I think you just put your finger on it. I wish I had a magic potion that would cure this.
How concerned are you, John, with the MSNBCs and the CNNs and the New York Times and very biased reporting? How concerned are you that that source of being not fair, not equal, is going to have a real triggering in affecting the election next year?
Well, I think what says it best is the Post masthead, which says democracy dies in darkness. Our country was founded on Enlightenment values, marketplace of ideas, rational discussion on both sides of an issue. That's all gone. That's all gone with the type of journalism we have. As a matter of fact, it's considered a weakness if someone says, well, wait a second, let's talk about maybe what President Trump did was fine, or let's talk about global warming. Maybe the climate isn't as sensitive to CO2 as has been alleged. You can't say that anymore. And so, yes, I do think that I do think things are very bad as a result. I just, like I say, I don't know what to do about it.
John, if you were to go to a major college or university today and sit in the back row journalism class, how long do you think you could stand it before you threw your hands up in the air and walked out?
Well, I think they would probably throw me out if I were in that class, because I'd be raising my hand and I'd say, wait a second, because I'm a lawyer, and my job is to pick apart what the other guy says. And the other guy's job is to pick apart what I say. So we're all motivated to try to get closer to the truth when we talk about our clients' cases. And that's what's interesting, is lawyers are very careful about trying to stick to the truth, because it's going to hurt them if they don't. Good lawyers stick to the truth. And I think there is probably very little critical thinking where somebody doesn't, where no one says, well, wait a second, you just assumed something in that statement. Let's talk about that assumption. Are we really clear on that assumption? There's very little critical thinking going on. And you have a lot of people spouting off things as if it's just the God's truth.
Mm-hmm.
We're now talking. We have presidential candidates that are seriously talking about spending $2 trillion a year to stop carbon production and to stop fossil fuels without really an examination of where the science really is.
That's right.
I like science. I read global warming articles, and I think there's an awful lot of controversy out there and a lot of indication that maybe things aren't quite as bad as they're being portrayed.
Absolutely.
But so I would get kicked out. I would get kicked out of a journalism class.
We have time for one more call, one more question, and then I've got to wrap it up. Caller, quickly, you're on the air.
Well, in the 2016 election, Google and Facebook, I forget which one, maybe Google, they, through the media, social media, they encouraged 800,000 people to get up off their dead butt, and most of them are probably liberals, and go vote. And then they're slanted to the left, all of them. I'll hang up.
Respond quickly, John, if you would.
Well, that's exactly right. Those social media companies have an awful lot of power. it is pretty scary that people can be motivated without really factual discussion. But that's the world we live in. It's almost like and like I say, it started with Watergate. This 15 seconds of thought is all you get now.
John, where can your book, Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed, Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism, where can people find your book?
Well, I would go on the Amazon website, would be a good place to do it, and to reserve a copy. We have a website, postgatebook.com, but Barnes & Noble's got a good site. So that's where I would go. I would go on these sites, whether it's Amazon or our own site, and pre-order this thing.
John, I want to thank you. You've been a very enlightening and informative guest. I've enjoyed the conversation. John O'Connor, I wish you a lot of luck with the book, and please, I do extend a comeback to you to come back on the program in the future.
I'd love to do it.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you. John O'Connor, and I've got to get a copy of his book. He was also, as he mentioned, a lawyer. He served as an assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California back in the 70s. We'll have him back. John O'Connor, good guest. Weather forecast. Holy moly, I forgot about the weather forecast. Wheels is going, Zeb. Okay. With our weather being sponsored this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And believe me, listen to this. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. You know them. You trust them, and they do a wonderful job for you. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company with tax return preparation, tax planning, payroll services, retirement planning, all of this. All you need to do is just call and make an appointment. They've got offices at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looking at some breezy conditions for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies, but we're going to have winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 to 18 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 64 tonight. Mostly clear skies. Winds are going to be dying down a little bit with low 43. Tomorrow, sunny skies. High of about 70. Now for tomorrow night, more rain showers are on the forecast. About a 50% chance with a low 42. Definitely rain showers for Thursday. About a 70% chance with a high of 58. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebra Duran.
Oh, Gina, thank you. Good job on that weather. And our sponsor, we say good job to you. You know, they can help you, your family, and your business with your tax records and all the taxing questions that you have. Please work with the best. As I said, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for over 50 years. The professionals, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. I have got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear? I got to get this story in because it's so wacky and so crazy the way it was put together. I was watching Joe Biden, and he was speaking at a somewhat very small rally, and he started bringing up a story about, 50 years ago? 50 years ago when he was a lifeguard, and how he and a couple of his buddies thwarted a gang, and the gang member leader was a guy by the name of, get this, I'm not making it up, Corn Pop? Corn Pop? I thought he was talking about a cereal. But he was talking about how 50 years ago he thwarted getting beat up and knifed and robbed by Corn Pop when he took a 6-foot chain and told Corn Pop he better get off the beach. I mean, what kind of stuff is this? Joe Biden, as of late, can't even remember what color of shirt he's wearing at the current time, let alone talking about something that took place 50 years ago when he's trying to act like macho tough guy. He was actually trying to act like Rambo up there behind the microphone and talking about a great big log chain, 6-foot log chain, and running corn pop off the beach? My grandmother used to say, ay, 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 ay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, I'll tell you, is it going to be Bernie Sanders, Biden, or Elizabeth Warren? Because that seems to be where it's headed. And I just don't see how they survive one debate with Trump, let alone the series of them.
Well, let's stop right there. If that is the best, honestly, I'm going to be very blunt. If either Warren or Bernie or Biden are the best the Democrats can throw up in front of the American people, I don't think that we've got too much to worry about, because every one of them may be putting in applications to be a garbage truck driver after it's over.
Well, Bernie's never worked a day in his life, ever. He's a communist. He probably lived in a commune in his younger days, and who knows what he did there. I'm sure he didn't work. He didn't earn his keep. And then, of course, Warren, she's certifiably, she's scary. She's truly scary. And then Joe, he's mentally handicapped.
You know what I just thought of? I just thought that maybe the reason that Joe Biden brought up this story about fighting off a gang leader on the beach, maybe back in the thresholds of his inner recessed mind, Joe Biden is going to call Corn Pop up wherever he might be and ask him to be vice president if he gets the nod.
Did you hear Joe Biden honestly say this? He said something about, going fisticuffs or whatever it was he said to Trump. Trump is 6'3". I know he's 230 at least or something.
Oh, yeah.
And he's, like they say, he's in better shape now than he was when he started. He looks younger now than he did. I think...
Well, I'll just say this, and I got to interrupt you because I'm almost out of time, but I'll say this, that if they arrange for a meeting to have a fisticuffs between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I certainly hope that one of Biden's handlers takes him to the ring, because I don't think Joe can remember where it is.
Well, if he gets hit, he's so brittle. He's so brittle.
I got to run, buddy. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, take care. I mean, all of this is just ridiculous. Corn pop and using a 6-foot chain to chase corn pop off the beach. I thought I was going to die laughing. Oh, well, be that as it may, let's not forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this for you, your family, and your business. They are very thoughtful and caring and accessible. All you need to do is just give them a call. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Got to run to the news. Be back in 7. Oh, here we go. Our train is rolling down the track this morning into hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a big, big fall tire sale. You stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And also Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Absolutely. Before we get a guest on the air this morning, I want to tell you a little bit about Patterson's. Oh my, looking for a new TV set, Bunky? Well, let me tell you, at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley, what a selection. Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Great selection right there. Curtis and Lorena can help you. And don't forget, they are your electronic needs headquarters. Home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems. What are you waiting for? Don't put it off. Stop in and see them today. They're located at 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Patterson's on East Main in Burley. Want to also quickly remind you, too, about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and they've teamed up to offer you an iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat, which features remote control access, so no matter where you are, you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, any place. Check it out, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. So be comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. History is not here this morning, but we have a gentleman back in Missouri that is going to take over Dr. History's spot this morning, and he's going to be talking about a brand new book that he's written, and the book's title is A Dance with Death, an Irish Soldier of Fortune at the Little Bighorn, written by Lance Durrell. Lance, good morning. How are you?
Zeb, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Okay, first of all, what part of Missouri are you in right now?
Sure. I live in Sedalia, Zeb, which would be west central Missouri. We're located 1 hour to the east of Kansas City, right along the I-70 corridor, the heart of America.
You know, that's really true because Sedalia, Missouri, very, very famous location for the cattle business back in the 1870s and 80s. I mean, there was a lot of things happening back in Sedalia.
That's right. First railhead, Zeb, and I think from here, if I can remember my history, it went from here to Abilene. You might know more about that, but this is where it started.
Absolutely. Well, Lance, okay, let's talk a little bit about this book for our half hour of Dr. History. A Dance with Death. Okay, start from the get-go on the title and tell us the overall picture, if you will, of the book. How did you come up with the title, and who is it about?
Sure. So Miles Keogh is the character that I've focused on for the story. This book, Zeb, revolves around his life, which is nothing short of extraordinary for somebody like him. Miles Keogh, Zeb, he left home at the age of 20 to fight in the Papal Wars, which was a war in Italy that the Pope at the time was calling for all good Catholic lads across Europe to come to the Church's aid. Italy at that time, Zeb, in 1860, was not a unified country. The country of they wanted to consolidate, and of course the Church had other ideas. So they called for all these good Irish lads and other lads across Europe to come fight for the Pope on the Church's behalf. He left a quiet, comfortable home with really no directions, guidance, and these guys would meet up in Vienna, and they joined what they call the Papal Army, Zeb, and he sees action in Ancona, Italy, and survives the Papal War to then be recruited and go to America to fight on the Union's behalf in the Civil War. Mm-hmm. That's where I pick up the story a little bit better in the book.
Okay, now let me interrupt on occasion and ask you a couple of questions. You basically, for this study of Captain Miles Keogh, you really had to do a lot of research and probably go into a lot of family trees and ancestry and everything else. How wrong am I? Or did you really put a lot of effort into all this pursuit of being right on the money?
No, I did, and I'll tell you the backstory on that is my family, my father's family, comes from Ireland, Northern Ireland to be exact. So when my brother and I were doing a lot of research, started 20 years ago for our own family. This is where I first ran across the captain's name. I'm not related, but I had seen the name in other genealogical research. And when I had seen his name, I knew I had seen it. I'd always been a little bighorn buff, got into it, and then lo and behold, once this guy gets to America, Captain Keogh, that is Zeb, he joined. He's at places like Antietam, Brandy Station, Gettysburg. I mean, this guy saw action extensively throughout the war. He's even captured as a POW, Zeb, with Sherman as they marched to the sea.
Oh, my.
And he was part of a group that had gone to liberate the notorious Union prisoner of war camp in Andersonville, but he himself becomes a prisoner of war.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, we did a lot of extensive research about this guy, but it was fascinating.
Well, let me ask you this. Because of time constraints, let's go right now from the Civil War. How in the world did Miles Keogh get connected to the 7th Cavalry and George Armstrong Custer?
Sure. You know, Zeb, this guy's he's a soldier of fortune. He wants to stay in the service. So the Army at the time that the war's closing, the Civil War that is, they know the next chapter is going to be the American frontier, as you well know. So they are quickly making these cavalry units and sending them out west. And at the time, the west is, of course, Kansas and Nebraska, the Dakotas. So he met a lot of guys. He and Custer's paths had crossed in the Virginia theater. Gets in with the 7th Cavalry and finds himself chasing Indians throughout western Kansas, and that's where it all starts right there on that part of it.
Okay, now, I want to bring in the aspect of Miles Keogh and his wife, Nellie. I'm sure that the title of your book, A Dance with Death, had something to do with his marriage and his wife. Is that correct?
Look, there's a little bit to it. He was not married to her. He had a long-going romance with her. I firmly believe he wanted to be married to her. Her family was well connected. But knowing this guy and doing the research on him, my humble estimation of it, Zeb, is he didn't feel at that time that he could provide the type of life that he thought she needed, when in all reality she just wanted him to come home and start a life. And so it kept him out on the frontier chasing this elusive big thing, this next big thing. And I believe this guy knew something was going to happen with the 7th Cavalry. He knew there was a cast of characters. The die was cast. America was in the midst of an economic depression by the early 1870s, as you well know. The railroads are going through there. They're battling right to get out west. They're going through the Native American lands. Namely, you got the Sioux, the Northern Cheyenne. The Army's become allies with the Crow, the Arikara, those type of guys. Everybody's jockeying for position. And then Zeb, of course, you know what happened in 1874. Gold is discovered in the Black Hills, right?
Right. You know, Lance, the thing that intrigues me about this book, and I can't wait to get a copy of it, is what did you find out when you were doing your research that maybe would shed some more light on the personality and the lack of leadership, if you will, or maybe you might call it leadership, of George Armstrong Custer himself? What did you find out that you didn't know?
Okay. So, Zeb, Custer becomes the youngest general the Union Army has at the time of the Civil War. His stock rises to the top, right? He's a rock star. Everybody knows about what he does at Gettysburg and other places. He joins the 7th. He becomes the field commander of the 7th Cavalry out through Kansas. So, what George Custer runs into in Kansas, he has a hard time bringing Native Americans to a pitched battle. They're going to use more guerrilla style. And so in the Indian Territory, which is Oklahoma, present-day Oklahoma, Custer and the 7th Cavalry's fame becomes across the nation in 1868 when Custer leads the 7th Cavalry in forced marches in the dead of winter, and they go to a river called the Washita in western Oklahoma, again, Indian Territory at that time, and they attack a sleeping village of Cheyenne and Arapaho, those type of Indians, it's a big deal. They capture the village, take captives, and he's instantly a rock star. Instantly he becomes the best Indian fighter on the plains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his stock just rises and rises. The 7th Cavalry's known as the best Indian fighting regiment on the plains. But as the years go on, the Indian fights are minimal in between there. There's really no action with the 7th Cavalry, Zeb, until 1873 up in present-day Montana, which is on the Yellowstone River, and they're doing surveying for the railroads, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they run into the likes of Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull, and they have a few skirmishes here or there, but there's not much Indian fighting in that time. And then, of course, gold is discovered in 1874, okay? Custer led the 7th Cavalry in this massive, massive expedition into the Black Hills. They have no fights. And so 2 years later, this massive Indian expedition is put together with the 7th Cavalry being this vaunted elite fighting force, when in reality, Zeb, you've got a regiment full of new recruits, foreigners throughout the ranks. Just think of it like this, Zeb. One out of every 5 enlisted men are either have less than 2 years' experience fighting, or they're a foreigner.
Oh, my.
To put that in perspective.
Oh,
And
my.
what you also find out is these guys had very, very limited training, Zeb, on horses or even marksmanship, okay? Compared now to what our soldiers get, there was nothing. Zeb, the 7th Cavalry, when they go out in 1876 on this expedition, there's 12 companies in the regiment, okay? They've never fought together, Zeb. They've never even been together. They're stationed throughout the West. So this conceived fallacy that they're this elite unit, it's really a hollow, okay? But here's the key. They're no different, Zeb, than any other frontier fighting regiment across the plains, okay?
Well, now tie in for me and my audience, again with time constrictions, Captain Miles Keogh and other leaders that were with Custer that day. There was a lot of dissension, was there not, about what Custer wanted to do, and others, like maybe Keogh, they didn't want to do what he was doing. So
that story goes back again to the Washita, and there's a lot of back history. So at the Washita, Zeb, that's 8 years prior to the Little Bighorn, when they attacked this giant village on the Washita, remember they were in the dead of winter, it's at night, right? The only time that the Army thought they could hit a Plains Indian village was in the winter or at night, and you surround it and you hit it from multiple angles, right? So what they could not reconnoiter in the dead of night without giving away their position, of course, is how massive this village was that hit on the Washita. And so consequently, Zeb, when the fighting's pretty much done, they start to get surrounded by other warriors who had come from the Arapaho villages and other Cheyenne villages on down the river. And so they have to pull out quickly of the Washita. They put their captives in the middle and they march them out, right? Well, at the Washita, they could not account for 20 members of a party that had gone on down the river chasing other warriors, and that was from Major Joel Elliott. And a lot of those officers thought that Custer had abandoned those men, and matter of fact, they found them 2 weeks later, and they had all been killed in action. So those feelings festered, mainly with Captain Frederick Benteen. Benteen did not like Custer. Custer did not like Benteen. So you had really a pro-Custer, what they called the Custer clan, and then you had a fraction with Benteen, who always, no matter what Custer did, found something wrong. Interesting about Miles Keogh, Zeb, Miles Keogh, from all the research that I could come up with, he was really the only guy that I can, again, say with all the research I've done for 20 years that seemed to kind of go between both crowds. And I don't mean he wavered. I just meant that everybody in the 7th Cavalry liked Miles Keogh.
Mm-hmm.
He was a soldier's soldier. He didn't need to be in the Army for the money. He wasn't running from a broken marriage. He was simply there for the adventure. He was a little bit of a ladies' man as well, even though he had this rich woman out east. He's a guy who survived 2 wars already. So he really had a different vibe to him than a lot of the guys that were there.
I'm going to have to move along and create some segments here in history. I've got to have you back and talk about this some more in the future. But it was Miles Keogh. A lot of people have a misconception that General George Custer was riding the horse called Comanche as the sole survivor of that bighorn mess, if you will. But it wasn't. That horse belonged to Miles Keogh. Tie that in for us, if you would, please.
Sure. Zeb, Miles Keogh would have been, again, in the Indian Territory, Oklahoma, and he was directly responsible for buying Comanche, okay? As part of any commander's job on the frontier, they have to have tons and tons of horses for those men and those relay stations, right, to protect the roads, the forts. He directly bought that horse out of Indian Territory. Excuse me, the horse came out of Indian Territory, probably went to St. Louis, but Keogh bought the horse when he bought other government horses, okay? And then he kept the horse. And there was a bond that developed, depending on whose research you're going to take. Some say the bond wasn't as strong. Some say that others, that Keogh just used him as an extra war mount. But in the research I found, Keogh was very, very fond of this horse. And so, yes, on the day of the Little Bighorn, Keogh kept him close and wanted him with him when they rode in to hit the village. Most of those officers, Zeb, what people don't realize is they had extra horses, okay? That they're not dumb, even though we talk about these guys maybe not being this elite fighting force. The officers in the 7th Cavalry are second to none on the frontier. They're Civil War veterans. They're hardened. They understand what goes into fighting guerrilla warfare on the plains and how deadly encounters with Native Americans are. So they want a fresh horse when they hit the village, right? You don't want a tired horse.
You know, Lance, I've got to ask you this, and I want you to set the mood a little bit as to historically what you think with your research. What was it like on that afternoon of June 25th, 1876, when the soldiers all of a sudden found themselves looking at thousands of adversaries that were going to get them at the Battle of Little Bighorn? Set the mood a little bit.
Okay, so, Zeb, these guys have been in the field for a month, right? This is their chance at fame and glory. They're hot, they're dusty, they've been on half rations. I mean, you're a horseman. Imagine being on a horse, even though you're a young guy, the strain on your body, the lack of sleep. Heck, Zeb, the water they were drinking a lot of times was full of alkali, okay? So they're dehydrated, but they're promised at this giant chance at fame and glory because they know this is it. They know that this is the last of the hostiles as we know them are somewhere in what we call Montana territory, obviously, southeast Montana, and they know they're going up against the likes of Sitting Bull, etc. It could be Northern Cheyenne, all kinds of bands of Sioux. So their only really worry, Zeb, is that their horses don't play out, and they're trying to get there, okay, because they know that the Plains Indians won't fight you in a pitched battle, okay? They're going to use guerrilla tactics. Their only worry right before they get there, Zeb, is to get there before this village gets scattered and they get detected. So they have no inklings that this is going to be America's most written about battle. They're just hoping to get some trophies, to be in on it, and use this stardom to catapult their careers.
Wow. You know, Lance, I think I'd be doing you an injustice if we took it any further in the book right now. I've got to have you back. I'm going to tell Dr. Turner, Dr. History, that we need to have you back on the program. But quickly, and I've only got a minute left, so make it brief, what about the horse Comanche as the sole survivor? What happened after the battle to the horse?
Sure. So the battle rages on for 2 days after the 5 companies are wiped out off the Little Bighorn. So 7 companies still survive. They fight for 2 days. When they go to bury their dead comrades, he is found across the river. The men recognize him. He's got 7 wounds. Probably any other horse Zeb, would have put him out of his misery, but they kept him. They brought him along. They cleaned him. They took him back to the steamer Far West and shipped him back to Fort Lincoln that the 7th Cavalry came out of Bismarck, okay? And that horse, Zeb, was kept there as an unofficial mascot to remember the day. He was cared for by Keogh's orderly who survived the battle. His name was Gustav Korn. Korn was with Keogh when they attacked the village, and there's some different accounts of what he saw, why his account wasn't used more, et cetera, et cetera. We can talk about that later. But anyway, Zeb, for 14 years, that horse lives. And the interesting part about that horse, Zeb, he's so smart that when Korn would go across the river into Bismarck at night to visit the drinking establishments, or the ladies of the night, if you will, and he did not come back to the post the next day, Comanche had free rein, Zeb. He wandered the post and all around Fort Lincoln. That horse would go across the river on a bridge, go into town, and he would stand outside the saloon or brothel where Korn had spent the night waiting for Korn to come down.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
When Gustav Korn is killed in 1890 at Wounded Knee, Comanche, just his health fails, and they say he died of a second broken heart.
I absolutely enjoyed your being on the program. Lance Durrell, the author of A Dance with Death, an Irish soldier of fortune at the Little Bighorn. You got to promise me you're going to come back on the program. I'm going to hold you to it, and we'll schedule you to come back and kind of give us another overview of everything we talked about this morning. Lance, I really appreciate it. Where can the book be obtained? Please tell us.
Sure. So the book is available on Amazon under my name, of course, which is Lance J. Dorrell, Dorrel. You can go on there, hit punch one click, and order it. It's on sale on Amazon. I also have my webpage, Zeb, and it's all lowercase. It's Lance J. Dorrell, LanceJDorrel.com, and jump on there and shoot me a message. Anybody would love to talk to you about the book or anything related to the Little Bighorn. It's a fascinating story. So much about what's been written there is just untrue, and there's just so much more we can talk about some other time. I'd love to come back, and thank you.
We will do it, I guarantee you. And Lance, God's blessings to you, and good luck with the book, and I'm very excited about having you back. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Zeb. Take care.
All right. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. You can tell that young man has done his research about the Little Bighorn and Captain Miles Keogh, General Custer, and, of course, the only survivor, the horse called Comanche. I want to remind you quickly about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Don't you forget, of course, check out all the great home comfort systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. And they're offering up to right now $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system. All you need to do is call our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 or visit them online, ramseysonline.com, and check out the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat with remote control to keep your home's temperature just the way you want it from anywhere. Right now, let's send it over to our main studio. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you. Once again, I get a chance every day on this program to talk to you. Seniors, listen to me, please. You need to call the folks at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living, a beautiful location. 12-bedroom home, and, of course, 3 meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping, local transportation, all included in the rent. But you'll be spending your days with friends, new friends and old friends at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. I urge you to check out this facility. Absolutely beautiful. Contact Matt or Kelly Wiggins at 650-4979. I'll say that number again, 650-4979, and set up an appointment. They'd be very happy to show you Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. Let's go to the phone line right now. And one of the guests that I continually look forward to on this program, because he's a straight shooter when it comes to the almost loonish attitude of what... Yes.
You hadn't given me the rote down for the...
The what?
No kidding.
I didn't give you this number?
No, sir.
Well, yeah, but the wrote down, please. That's not grammatically correct. You mean the telephone number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please call Gregory Wrightstone at, I'm going to give you the number over the air, 412-337-9572.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, thank you. Well, evidently we made a faux pas over here, and I didn't give Wheels all the information this morning, and so I'll take the blame for that. I thought we did when we were on the phone earlier, but evidently I didn't. The Minidoka County Senior Center sends a big thank you to all the folks that bought raffle tickets and tickets to attend their end of summer barbecue. The support that they receive from the community is awesome, and they want to thank everybody. And the winners of the raffle were Kathy Wilmot with the digital camera, Kay Moore, the 49-inch TV, Janice Harden, the tabletop barbecue, and Barbara, I hope this is right, Feroce, the 5 cubic foot freezer. So there you go. They wanted me to mention that on the air this morning. Right now, let's check with Wheels and see if we've got Gregory Wrightstone.
All right, I got a hold of him, but I'm having to call him back on his landline.
Okay, quickly, if you would, please. Tomorrow on the program, while we're waiting for Gregory to get on the phone, I want to remind you we're going to have Dave Bigo, and also, every month we have a guest from the Idaho Fish and Game, and we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about with the Fish and Game tomorrow at 10:06 in regards to the hunting, how it's going, what's going on, all this type of thing. That's tomorrow morning on Zeb at the Ranch, so don't forget that. Again, checking in with Wheels to see if we have our guest ready to go. Is he there and available?
Yes, sir, he is.
Appreciate it. Well, we had a little bit of a mistake on my part, Mr. Wrightstone, because I didn't give Wheels all the information on your telephone number, so I apologize for that. But ladies and gentlemen, here is the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. One of my favorite guests, Gregory Wrightstone. Sir, how are you this morning?
Well, it's likewise. You're one of my I do lots of radio, and you're one of my favorites, so it's mutual.
Greg, I got to ask you this, and I'm not trying to sound negative to start off our conversation, but I guess you could call it worried. I'm very worried. We read about all the different protests for climate change, and we hear all the loons that are making appeals for them to follow people down the what I'd call the Wizard of Oz trail to a cliff that's going to put them into abyss by believing in climate change. But this weekend, I saw this in the paper, and it's really scary. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to join a worldwide demonstration this weekend about climate change. What's going on here? Are they winning and we're losing, or what's happening?
Let's start with what's going on. It's called Climate Strike. It's a global, and that'll be this Friday, the 20th. I will be attending one, Zeb, for your information. I'll be wearing some newly printed, I'm picking them up this afternoon, my I Heart CO2 T-shirts, and I'll be having my I Heart CO2 button on. I'll be there. We've decided, I had a number of people who are going to attend with me to do a counter-protest. I've just elected today, in the interest of safety, because we hear some really bad actors are going to be there, including Antifa, Extinction Rebellion. I've already had my confrontation with Antifa not too long ago. Well, it was last year. It would do great if I got beat up. It would do great thing for book sales, but not so much for my face. These people are nasty, hateful, and some of them are violent. And I will be there, but we're going to tone it down. We were going to bring people with holding posters up, but we're not going to do that. There's no sense in instigating violence that they might come after us. So this is called the Climate Strike. I didn't check if there are any up where you are. There probably are, but I'll be going to the one in Pittsburgh here, so I'll be attending it along with a couple friends, and we've actually got a film crew that'll be filming us. So hopefully we'll get it captured.
Absolutely.
But I'm not pessimistic. I'm actually optimistic, Seb. I travel around the country, as you know, and I just got back from St. Louis Sunday evening late, and as I travel around, the people I meet, just random people, just are thirsty for unbiased, untarnished, non-politicized information about what's going on about climate change, and I provide that. And that's my strength, I think, is providing some rational information about just exactly what's going on. And as I travel around, the people in the planes I sit with, they're just completely random, right? There's no way you're going to know who's going to sit next to you. I've never, ever had anybody other than fascinated and interested in what nobody gets in my face about it. So I think the general public, what I sense from the general public is they understand that they're being barraged every day by some new climate apocalypse event, something different. It's hurricanes or fires or whatever it might be. And they understand that and just don't necessarily believe all this climate garbage, but they don't have enough knowledge to really make a judgment on this. And that's where I think both my book and the app in particular come in, providing these well-sourced science-based facts that we have on the app and in the book. And to dispel this, I get that it seems like this, but I'm very, very hopeful, particularly in America. I think the world, we had a discussion this week about a lot of the people around the world, the only American TV they see is CNN, and we know how biased that is. But in America, I think people are waking up and don't really buy into it. And they don't want their cars taken away.
Absolutely.
It's bad enough Beto O'Rourke's going to take their guns, but they sure don't want their Buicks and Chevys taken away from them and have to trade over to some electric-powered vehicle.
You know, a couple of things, Greg, and we've talked about this one particular gentleman that lives here in my area before. He is the least qualified, I think, because of his past and his history and what he did for a living, and he claims to fame being a former Idaho Supreme Court judge, but he comes out and lends his thoughts about climate change. He really doesn't have any of the facts and is very noticeable when you read his op-eds, but therein lies the problem. People like the person I'm talking about jump out in front of the public and make speeches, or they write op-eds about the sky is falling, Chicken Little, we're all going to die in 10 years. And too bad, but the gullible American public is believing these people.
What's his name?
You know who it is. Former Attorney General for our state, Jim Jones. I've sent you information on that.
Let's call him out. Okay, well, they're... I know they got a big platform, and it seems to be everywhere. And it seems like even people on the GOP side, the Republicans, are buying into this nonsense. Some big name people, even the senator from South Carolina, is his name just evades me right now. But a lot of these pretty big name people have bought into this climate hoax. But again, I'm still optimistic about this. And I think that your listeners represent some of the people right from the heartland and just basic regular Joes and Janes that aren't buying into it. And they're not unusual. I think they're actually represent the majority of the people in America that just don't know the details, but just aren't buying it.
What about the education process? You've been on this program many, many times, and of course your book is outstanding, Inconvenient Facts. But what about the education process? How do we get these kids in school and their teachers to sit down instead of blindly following on the yellow brick road, like I said earlier, over a cliff with the liberal left loons? How do we change this so that they'll understand understand about CO2. They'll understand about fossil fuels. They'll understand that our air is cleaner in this country, cleanest it's been since 1992, as a matter of fact. They'll understand that we're not the evil people that the universities and the Al Gore's type want us to think they are.
Yeah, that's a real problem. I just got back from a convention in St. Louis and sat in on some speakers that talked about just that, and it's a real problem we've got in the schools. They're being indoctrinated, not just about climate, but about so many other things, and I just don't know the answer other than to keep fighting and keep moving forward, and hopefully we'll get these people exposed. But they do control the education systems, not just in the universities, but right back. It starts in kindergarten. I heard one presentation this weekend when they were talking about the indoctrination of climate change. And these were first graders that were talking. They were teaching them to tell their parents what to say about climate change. And I don't have an answer for you, Zeb. I just don't. It's a problem. We recognize it, but there are no easy solutions for that.
What do you think is going to happen this Friday as far as these hundreds of thousands of people on this demonstration? What do you think their hope of achievement is? What do you think the bottom line is going to be, really, if anything, other than I'm sure the news media is going to follow them and go along hook, line, and sinker? But what do you think the net result will be?
Well, they'll be preaching to the choir for sure. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to shut up, and when they say something completely wrong, I know I'm not going to be able to help myself but yell out, "You lie," that's a lie, or something like that, and then they'll probably, So watch for the news on Friday. I might be talking to you from the hospital bed in the afternoon. But part of this climate strike was going on Friday. It's partly hosted by this thing called Extinction Rebellion. It's not as big here in the United States. It was big in the UK and Europe, where they actually brought London and Paris to halt for a number of days, marching in the streets. And the founder of this, I'm writing a commentary now about Extinction Rebellion and the founder, and he actually he has actually stated that what they're about is not about climate change. They're using climate change as a vehicle to promote his radical anarchist ideas. What he wants to do is tear down all the systems and bring it to halt and replace our current political systems with what his vision is of a democracy.
Wow. Hey, we've got a caller with a question for you, Greg. Stand by. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes. It's kind of astonishing to me, and there are people in here in southern Idaho, which is an ag-based area, that even here they buy into this kind of crap. And it's astonishing to me the fact that people in the ag business, whether they're raising beef cows or dairy goats or alfalfa or food, it is in the least. It's not in their best interest to pollute and ruin the ground or the air or whatever. It's in the farmer's best interest to take care of what you have so it can continue to grow. And it's like I said before, the lack of knowledge, I suppose. I guess that's the question, is how come people in these ag areas tend to buy into this kind of crap? I'll let you go.
Respond to the caller, please, if you would, Greg.
Well, that's a good question. Farmers of anybody should realize the benefits of carbon dioxide.
Yep.
Carbon dioxide is just a huge and powerful, it's not necessarily a fertilizer per se, but it does stimulate, we know it greatly stimulates plant growth. Plants grow bigger, faster, stronger, and need less water because of increasing CO2. And that's reflected in many, many charts. Again, I gave a presentation this weekend, and the title of the presentation was Climate Change, the Deliberate Corruption of the Scientific Process. And in that, I captured some charts. I showed various crops and the relationship, how they've been exponentially increasing. Every year we're breaking new records. And it's partly due to rising temperature and increasing CO2. Crop growth in the United States and around the world has just been going great guns. Warming temperatures mean that we have longer growing seasons. Killing frosts stop earlier in the spring and arrive later in the fall. You get more plantings. And again, we know that by laboratory tests, a 300 part per million increase in CO2 will stimulate up to 46% of an increase in crop growth. That's a good thing. Really good thing.
Earlier this morning,
so your farmers should be thankful for the CO2 fertilization effect.
Absolutely. Earlier this morning, I've got time for one more comment from you, Greg, but earlier this morning I had a really good man from the American Energy Alliance, Horace Cooper, come on the program, and he was telling us about how he has sat in on meetings and heard people say on the left that they would like to relegate the American public back to the 1850s and 60s for the lifestyle that would be, in their words, better for the climate. What are your thoughts on this?
No, that's a fact. And people, from the scientific end and the climate change aspect, Dr. Michael Mann, when he was asked, what's the ideal temperature? You never get that. He told us what the ideal temperature was in his mind. He said, oh, well, that would be the temperature at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution before we added CO2. Well, Zeb, you know what that put us? That's squarely in the middle of the horrifically cold Little Ice Age. That's what he wants to go back to. We know how that ended, and it wasn't very well. It was horrific for the people, for crops. Half the population of Iceland perished. But no, that's what he wants to do. He wants to go back to the temperatures we had in the middle of the Little Ice Age, which was not good.
One final thought real fast, Greg. When you listen, and I know it's hard sometimes to listen to the Democratic debaters behind their podiums, but how much of climate change and what they're promoting and what they want to do you think will be a major influence on the 2020 election?
Good question. I think it will have an effect. Because, again, I think the rational, sane people, which are your listeners, they know that we can't do the Green New Deal. They know they don't want to give up their cars. They know they don't want to take mass transportation. They know they don't want their taxes raised. And they know that they don't want to pay 6 times as much for energy. They get that I think most people realize that's what's going to happen with the Green New Deal. Oh, no, I think Donald Trump will use that. He'll tear their arm off and beat them over the head with it. No, I think the Green New Deal is that 7-hour CNN town hall on climate change was a 7-hour infomercial for Donald Trump, just showing how those Democrat candidates were competing to see who could deindustrialize America the quickest.
Absolutely. I'm going to take one call quickly. I've only got a minute and a half left. Caller, real fast. Don't go too long. I'll cut you off. Go ahead.
Yes, one last question is, what are the thoughts on using death fuel, the ammonia, in the diesel engines to supposedly clear up the exhaust? And I'll let you go. Thanks.
Respond quickly, if you would, please, Greg.
I don't have a clue.
Oh.
That's not my wheelhouse. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I don't talk about things I don't know. I'm not deeply knowledgeable about, so I'm going to have to pass on that.
Well, one thing you are knowledgeable about is, of course, all the inconvenient facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Gregory Wrightstone, I always appreciate having you on the program. Thank you. Please come back soon, and don't endanger yourself this weekend.
Okay. I'll do that.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. You got to read that book, Inconvenient Facts. Look it up. You can get a copy of it, and it's at major bookstores and all across the country, written by Gregory Wrightstone. I've got to get a weather forecast on here. Holy moly. Weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew. Number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious meats. I mean, mean, maybe you're getting together for the family on Sundays, or maybe you're still planning a late fall picnic or whatever. Oh, my goodness. They've got all the delicious meats. Call them. Find out more. Go to the website, and you'll really appreciate Scarro's Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's the weather with Gina.
Looking at some breezy conditions for today. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies, but we're going to have winds out of the west-southwest at about 10 to 18 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 64 tonight. Mostly clear skies. Winds are going to be dying down a little bit with low 43. Tomorrow, sunny skies. High of about 70. Now for tomorrow night, more rain showers are on the forecast. About a 50% chance with a low 42. Definitely rain showers for Thursday. About a 70% chance with a high of 58. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Gina. Call Don Scarrow and his great crew over there at 324-7657. Or stop over Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, for delicious meats. As a matter of fact, that's part of the tagline. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrow's Meats. Wow. I got to hurry and tell you also about our major sponsor, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a big fall tire sale going on right now. Oh, you'd better stop in. You going hunting? Well, have you seen those bald tires on your pick-em-up truck? Well, you better get in there today. And maybe your camp trailer needs new tires. They've got all the tires, all the tread designs, and they can save you money with safe driving tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've been doing the right thing since 1952, along with the very best in brake service with highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. You better check that battery before you get up on the mountain. All of this and more with the best of service from Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Today is, as we've said many times on the program, Constitution Day. We the people of the United States of America. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we always say the way things were, the way things ought to be, but we end the program with 4 words that mean everything to me. In God we trust. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06, Zeb at the Ranch.